This is section 2.4, part 4. We've just finished translation problems. Now we're going to talk about a new type that I call angle problems. First of all, there are two definitions that we need. Two angles whose sum, remember sum is the answer to an addition problem, is 90 degrees, are said to be complementary angles. Okay? So if there are two angles and I add them up in degrees and they equal 90, they are complementary angles. Two angles whose sum is 180 degrees are said to be supplementary angles. Okay, now visually, what does that mean? Well, a 90-degree angle is a right angle. What this is saying is if we know the measure of this angle, whatever it is, because it's a right angle, these two numbers have to add up to 90, right? So what we do every time, if this whole thing is supposed to be 90, and this is for a complement, and we know x, to find that angle, that's always going to be 90 minus x, because x plus something gives me 90. So whatever that is, it's going to work. Think about it this way. If I told you this was a 10-degree angle, this would have to be an 80-degree angle. 90 minus 10 gave you 80. Now this is very similar. A straight line has 180 degrees total. So this angle, if we knew what it was, x, and if I add it to this angle, because these two together make a straight line across the bottom, they are supplements. Just like what we did here, where we did 90 minus x, the only difference here is it's going to be 180 minus x, and this is for supplements. Now, if you are afraid you're going to get these confused, and that happens a lot of my students remember that complement and supplement have something to do with 90 and 180. If you put these two words in alphabetical order, the numbers go in order as well. So that's how you can remember those. Complement comes before supplement, 90 comes before 180. Okay? Now let's talk a little bit about reasonability on these. In this class, we do not deal with negative angles. I'm not saying they don't exist. You start dealing with them in trigonometry, not now. So we're looking for positive answers. They are allowed to be fractions and decimals. You can have a 2.5-degree angle. Perfectly okay. If I know that my angle has a complement, my answer has to be less than 90, because if this is 100, I don't have an angle here that I can add to it to go back to 90. Same type of thing here. If this number is larger than 180, I cannot have a supplement. So keep that in mind. Okay, if my problem talks about a complement, my answer has to be less than 90. If I only talk about a supplement, it has to be less than 180. Okay? So let's look at a problem. Find the measure of an angle whose complement is 5 times its measure. This has a real-world context in it. We're talking about actual angles, but it is also a translation problem. Okay, find the measure of an angle. Let's call this whole thing x. Whatever that original angle is, it is x. Whose complement is, I'm just going to use a C right now for complement so we can set up the pattern. We'll get to this in a second. Whose complement is 5 times its measure. We said the measure is x. It is x on this side as well. Okay. All I know right now is that the complement is 5 times x. We're supposed to find the angle. All right. So my basic plan, my basic strategy is going to be that the complement is 5 times its measure, 5x. Remember, we're lazy. That's 5 times x. We don't have to write the dot. Okay, now like I said, every single time you're looking for a complement, the other part is 90 minus x. So if my angle that I'm looking for is x, then the complement is going to be 90 minus x. Now, just like we did on the previous problem, I'm going to look at my plan and my complement is 90 minus x. I'm going to put that right in that spot. The equation I need to solve is 90 minus x equals 5x. And if I can solve this, I know what my original angle is. So to solve this, I need to get my x's together. So I'm going to add 1x to both sides. To get 90 equals 6x. Divide both sides by a 6. And I get 15 equals x. So what I have found is the measure of my angle. That's what I am asked to find. 15 degrees is reasonable. It is not a negative number. Okay. It is less than 90. And if you're asked to find the angle and its complement, even though this one did not do that, if I were asked to find its complement, I would calculate 90 minus 15, which would be 75. Okay.